All right, hello and welcome to the coverage of the ninth Zanjero Cup in Singapore. A great matchup for you guys in round three. We got Liew versus Wolfram. Liew is going first. So looks like GIENIES, the opening rack. So GIE looks like a pretty good move, but Genie I maybe slightly better. You go either way. It's a more fishy approach. You could also exchange the IE. It's an interesting play putting the E on the star. A little bit more aggressive. Normally you want to center your opening move. But actually, Liu's drawn the X. It's very interesting. So right now the standings are not so developed, but Wolfram's in first place. And I think Liu's in fifth place or so. Liu with 1 win, 1 loss. Wolfram with massive spread after 2 wins. Yeah, hopefully everything will get sorted eventually. Uh, Lots of rounds to come after lunch as well. So Wolfram with AEJOTTY. Normally I'd look for someone to play Joy. There's no one to do that. So maybe just Jog. Jog for 27 looks pretty strong. Not very inspiring though. Uh, Also try to get those clocks working eventually. It's so great to see all these new streams popping up. The simulation says to play Taj, TI and AE. That's an interesting idea. It's extremely defensive and facing a strong range, which Wolfram is. After the play of GIE, opponent probably has pretty good letters. That sort of defense seems awesome. Very cool play. I guess the way to find the play of Taj is to just say, all right, can I do something very restrictive? I think the answer is yes here. Wolfram taking a long time here. And I know Wolfram tends to do that at the beginning of the game. Yeah, it's very fascinating. Very fascinating opening position. So Jape is what's being considered. Engine considers that to be a pretty strong play. But there are 6 plays slightly stronger. Taj on top of GIE, and it's essential to play on top rather than on the bottom. That AE just makes it completely impossible to underlap. You can just get stuck in these racks for forever, honestly. You really just need to have that internal clock or internal voice yelling at you. So jog coming down, that's a pretty good play. That's the first play I thought of. Engine says it's around 5 points worse than playing Taj. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty simple decision for Liew. That X is going to be really useful. Just drop it. Just play it for 34. You could play the L for 1 more point. You could play the D for 2 more points. Pick your passion rather than pick your poison. So locks is the play here. Looks pretty good. I'm glad that I sound like myself. So according to Macondo, Nox, Dox, and Ox are good, and Locks is slightly worse. That's the sort of result you say, okay, sure. And endwise is a nice pull. Let's not forget that B hook on endwise. So AEEPTTY, no N for anti-type, no B for petabyte. So options are pretty limited. This is actually the sort of position that could have been after Taj. Now it's in the opposite player's favor. So taxi is the choice. Could have gone a little bit further, played Taxite, opened 2 triples, opened a spot for the Y. Might have been stronger. Very tough position for Wolfram. So Sinew does the anagram, endwise. But it seems like endwise would be the play here. This is coming down. Let's play. You could score 2 more points with GIED, but there's absolutely no reason to take those 2 points. This is the most defensive positioning. The only positioning that doesn't open floaters on the bottom of the board. I think we're going to see type here pretty quickly. You could also play TYTE in the same spot for 29, but you got to play to that triple on the top. And I think the double T's aren't that bad. I think you just deal with it. I think probably more bingos will fit keeping TET than PET on this board, given the placement of the E of endwise. Can't start a bingo with P. Yeah, Wolfram with a significant deficit here, but nothing to worry too hard about unless you get bingoed on again. Which, if I'm reading the rack correctly, is about to happen. So lariated lined up. Also just play the 7 radial, but you play radial with ER. That's just so much worse positionally. So for 4-point sacrifice, it's absolutely worth it to play lariated. Or lariated, probably pronounce it that way. So you know that lariate is not a valid word. But Wolfram's seen a blank. So totemic. What's lined up here, it seems. I will play after lariated. I think you have to take the sacrifice here. It's just so crazy to open all those floaters, triple on the bottom, whole bottom of the board. Let Wolfram do that. You're the one that's ahead. Wolfram looking extra rad today. We like the positivity in chat. Welcome in, everyone. We're seeing a bunch of bingos here on a relatively closed board, but the best bingo here is not totemic. And yes, current North American champion has found the 9-letter word in chat. Competent. And it's a pretty self-descriptive play. If you can find that, you are a very competent word finder, but you have to look for it. And think if Wolfram looks for it, it will be found. But it's kind of second nature or third nature or fourth nature, depending on who you are, to look for 9s in this position specifically. It's also interesting to discuss whether it's worth playing totemic or, if competent weren't available, comet on the top left, underlapping lariated. That scores 34, keeps a Tina blank. I just don't really know if you're going to get a better opportunity to bingo. And look at this. Beautiful. Very nice. So does competent take an S? I don't think it does, but it might. When you're in the game, sometimes it might come up that you might have to try something like that, but you probably won't see that. It's not a word. And suddenly, Liew's only up 4 points. With a pretty dominant start, getting the first bingo, immediate bingo after on a very close board, but that blank can just get you out of such tough positions. I would assume that if Wolfram were to bingo out of this board, it would just open so much, but this is a very defensive placement. And Hooli coming down, this looks very strong. Highest score, does open a triple, but game is tied now. Can't just go messing around. So I like this decision. And not a great pull for Wolfram, but there will be the opportunity to use that Y. Score some points on the triple. So 211 to 168. It's the current score. I think we're thinking of playing Tivy here. DIVY, it's the highest score in the position. I guess, what if we consider playing Ivy? The J is gone. There's only one T left. That could be interesting. You draw a high scoring play with Tivy next turn. That's the only other thing I'm thinking about. Yeah, Shaviti, I did see that as an almost play. But if we go around saying what words players are close to every single turn, I don't think we'll have time to actually commentate the game. And look at that draw for Liew. Oh my god. Abungus, maybe referencing that infamous pandemic game we all relished in for a while. So, according to the engine, playing IV is a very slight inaccuracy compared to Tivy. Maybe a 2-point mistake, small win percentage mistake as well. But hey, you got to think of these things. You're firing on all cylinders. Maybe opponent's gonna make a terrible play to try a block. Or maybe they'll make a good play and your setup will be foiled. Yeah, Tivy, I think, is the only play here. You just have to accept the fact that you're keeping 2 eyes on a pretty bad board and a small deficit. Some people might get into the trap of trying to, at all costs, untriplicate the eyes. But playing something like Livid is just far too dangerous and far too low scoring. Looks like maybe Divi and ED. I mean, that makes sense for the board, but it's just such a low score. I feel like you can delay opening the board another turn. You can't really prevent Wolfram if you're Liew from opening the board. But Divi is the play. And suddenly, if you're Liew, what do you do? You're actually feeling pretty bad here. You got an open triple, you have no plays to that triple. Got an open board, no plays to close it, and you have 3 U's. So yeah, kind of terrible position. And wow, what a draw indeed for Wolfram. That is going to almost certainly bingo on this board. Oh, with Flocks. Wow, the epic unlocks coming in clutch here. But what a turnaround here. I think you should just exchange if you're Liew. Just say, all right, well, I have an S. I have an N, but I probably don't want to keep that N with 4 more to come. But lots of vowels to come, so maybe you do keep the N. I don't know. Exchange 6, keeping the S seems pretty strong here. You are up 30. And it's a very good time to exchange when you're up 30 on not so dangerous board. So we see keeping SN, which is a standard decision. And Wolfram prime to bingo here. Shiftier at the very least through the eye, shifter. Lots of pretty simple options here. Engine liked playing busy to the Y, the only playable word to the Y, keeping GUUN 27. Liked a few exchanges as well. Yeah, 3 I's followed by 3 U's. Wolfram to bingo here with shifter and flocks. That's 92. Shift year is 86. There's no reshift. Don't fall into that trap. And a very constant heavy draw for Liew. Second S, 2 R's, an A, and an F. There's going to be a little bit of trouble on the next move. Assuming that Wolfram bingos. Yeah, that F locks spot is missable, but I don't think shiftier through the I and divvy is very missable. And Liew already ready to play phrase through the Y. That's probably a good use of that extra S, 3 extra points, and making sure you're not keeping 4 consonants. So shiftier is being found here. So 6-point sacrifice, maybe slightly better positionally. A small mistake. And I don't think that F hook is really going to get used this game, because after phrase, there's really only a blank that can be used for flocks. I don't think this changes too much for Liew's calculus. I think you just go with phrase. Try to live to see another day. The play of shiftier is surprisingly defensive. Very hard to overlap or underlap. Really only lane it gives back is that R. And instead, we're seeing yarns. Okay. I guess this is better for the board for sure. The F is useful, but engine is screaming to play phrase. As would I. Oh my goodness. Okay. We have a problem. These guys are not shaking the bag. Wolfram's just drawn 4 of the 5 tiles that Liew threw in the bag. That's just not okay. I hate when randomness doesn't exist. But you can play Urubu through the R. 8 points keeping EIO. Or our favorite word, Yoi, on top. Shift here. Or you just exchange. Yeah, what an interesting game so far. Some very unbalanced draws. This one could have been avoided. But I think you have to play EUOI here or exchange. I don't think Urubu is worth it. So Wolfram up 32. Pretty comfortable on this board, but a bingo could change everything. Still an unseen blank. Wolfram thinking about exchanging 6. But Uoi is definitely worth playing here. It's 24 points somehow. It's a very tough overlap to spot, though. And the pool's balanced now. 15 vowels, 24 consonants. Around 2/3 of the game gone by. A quarter of my life gone by. Met all my friends online. You guys know that song? What else is unseen? A Q. So slight interest in keeping a U here. Thanks for the clock update. Well, from under 10 minutes, which is not unusual, I will say. The little I know about Wolfram's Scrabble, I know that time trouble is one of Wolfram's longest lasting friendships. Well, I shouldn't say that, but you guys know what I mean. And Liew with many of the letters to Wolfram. So we're seeing an exchange down to just an I. Interesting. That's slightly better than keeping the E, according to the engine. So a nice adjustment there based on the unseen pool. So ROLF and Phlox is a great idea here. You're almost tying the game up, setting up the S for yourself. Yeah, nothing bad to say about this play. And do we have another triplicate situation? Oh my goodness. This is fine. Obviously, you could just play Fava for 30, but that's hilarious. And yeah, there go the U's again. And they can't be different U's, you know? Like, those are all of the U's. Actually, okay, there were 4 U's. So maybe one of those U's is the other U. Maybe this was shaken. But I cannot stress enough how important it is to shake the bag after an exchange. And some people think I'm crazy. I'm like, Josh, you're shaking the bag too long. Director, I'm calling the clock. This game should show you guys why you should shake the bag. We like randomness. That's why we play Scrabble. It should be against the rules not to exchange or not to shake after an exchange. It could be considered colluding with your opponent. Yeah, how many U's have been drawn so far? 3, 6, 8. 8 U's have been drawn so far in this game. So Avian is the play instead of Fava, a little bit more contained. Not really more defensive though. So those lanes under the N are gonna sit there, that lane, for a while. And I think now you just catch your setup Umus and Rolfs. Looks like Rums is being considered, but you gotta play off that second U, even with the Q unseen. And there's another U. Is that another U? Oh my gosh. Q, U, U, draw. That's 10 U's. All right. All of the U's are visible. Will they ever play off the U's, or is this going to be like a Scrabble nightmare? We've all had that nightmare where we just keep drawing U's, right? Or is it just me? So, close game now. Wolfram up 32. It's been back and forth here at the ninth Zanjero Cup. Huge thanks to um, Wavin for setting up this stream, making this all possible. I just placed a gigantic lunch order. Luckily, I just ate, so I'm not jealous. But yeah, Umus has to be played. 8A Umus is necessary. If you don't make that play, you're certainly blundering. And this could have, yeah, this could take the cake. The most U's ever drawn in a Scrabble game. I've experienced something like 8 U's drawn, but it's just so unfortunate it didn't happen organically. They just didn't shake the bag. I would write both of them up after this game. So if you don't play Umus, you could just play off MU under the AR of lariated, and just fish. But I really want to see those U's depart the rack. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that does not want to see any more U's. We're too used to it at this point. The jokes just write themselves. Oh, okay. UMU is seen. That's step one. That does play under the N, or under the next to the R, or shiftier, or next to the S of yarns, but you don't really want to do that. So yeah, Umus is the play. Very good. And time trouble is going to start here. It already started for Wolfram, but I can imagine that Liew's down to under 10 minutes as well. But Quag seems pretty obvious. And that is the decision. It even sets up potential for your last U, the last U of the game being set up by this play. Oh wow, okay. Only 12 minutes. So EEEGNRT. So still tantalizingly close to a bingo here. You have the G for ING at the bottom. I don't think that's super important. You don't need to bingo to win this game. You basically just need the blank to win this game. But the moves aren't going to play themselves in a position like this. There isn't really anything that jumps out. Pool is still kind of balanced. So you could pretty much play any amount of letters, as long as you're keeping a good leave. You play 2 letters, 3 letters, 4 letters, 5 letters. The engine giving reason to genre, a very interesting move under the IAN of avian, making INN and then the RE floating out in space, setting up your E. And that's really interesting because it's kind of difficult to underlap. There are 2 E's unseen, but that R protects the triple pretty well. So that's a nice idea. Nothing else coming close, according to the engine. So yeah, curious to see what happens in this turn. It's a very important turn, it seems like, at least to me. Kind of want to make the right play in this position. And with 11 minutes and counting, can't spend all of your time here, but you want to spend a decent chunk trying to find a play that makes a lot of sense. And I think genre is the play that makes a lot of sense here. Any other play just doesn't quite do what you want. Want to get rid of that G, want to score points, want to play tiles, maybe draw that blank. Whoever draws the blank is probably going to win this game. Other plays available are stuff through that V of divvy. So REEVE, getting rid of all the E's at once, keeping the ing together, or not the ing, but the end of the G. Even as well plays there, EEVN, which is really hard to spot. That doesn't keep the N and the G together, but balance of EGRT is pretty strong. And estimations here are that Liew is going to win around a quarter of all games unless he finds genre. Genre has a 5% increase in winning chances according to the engine. And I can't really see how a human player would refute most of that, most of the benefits of genre. So 8 minutes now for Liew. And unfortunately, we do see that blank is no longer out there. And Wolfram saying hi to us, lining up was on the rack. Love to see it. A very awkward 7 tiles for Wolfram. RWAZUP blank. We're seeing Reeve. That is a very logical play. And it scores quite well. Almost ties the game up. Yeah, in this position, I think best play seems pretty straightforward. I really don't think you need to worry about drawing something through the queue, although it is nice to have equip or to be close to it. Just don't think that's going to make the difference here. I think you just want to play was. WUZ, WZ, and ZA atop the A in avian. It's a nice 30 points. The leave of APR blank. Fantastic. And the way the board is configured right now, even if a bingo comes down on the end column, you still will have the opportunity to bingo either on the 10 row or the 14 row. So a top RIN or below RIN, and the end column being right next to the S in yarns. So you don't have to worry about losing all the space on the board by going straight for a bingo. Wolfram very low on the clock, down to 3.5 minutes. Have to make a move soon. Still a lot of game to be played. Don't want to incur a time penalty here. So at that point, if you trade bingos, you might lose. And a pretty decent draw for the AEGINOT. I don't think that's going to bingo, but you still have a lot to work with. And actually, crazy enough, engine says no, was is not correct. By far the best play is to play Zap, keeping WUR blank, making PSI. And I'm thinking that the reason is if you draw the K, squawk just wins the game. But no, you need to draw an A and a K for that. Why would you keep W, U in this position? There must be some reason that that rack is just better than usual. Is it the Q and Quag? I'm very much struggling to understand the engine's result here. But that's what he plays. Brilliant play. We might see why this is such a good play. I really am trying to put my finger on why you would purposely keep a W and a U. And that K draw, not quite squawk though. Is it because you have the W for H8W? That really be it? Very interesting. Yeah, things are getting very heated here. You down 43 points, trying to fight against the current third round, the Zanjero Cup. Close to bingo, not quite there. Nothing reasonable that jumps up. A lot to think about, too much to think about. Do you fish the O? Do you play off the G? You try to score points. You try to play tiles, go for that blank. Why did Wolfram take so long on Zap? Well, Wolfram takes time on a lot of moves. Can't really gather much info from that. The engine is saying play off OE. But instead, we're seeing the fish of the O. The strong idea. And yeah, I'm just still not understanding what the value of playing Zap was. This rack doesn't provide much use for Wolfram. But we see the play of Haw setting up the K and all of the other hooks. That's crazy. That's a great play. Beautiful play. But we will see a bingo here for Liew. I don't think you want to play antigen here. There is one E out for antigene. I think you have to play antiing. But turns out that Wolfram doesn't have that last E. I do not know what's going to happen this game. I think Wolfram's going to pull it out. I'm really unsure, especially with the time. This bingo will put Liew up ever so slightly, 20 points. But drawing 6 tiles, you really want that blank to give yourself maximum flexibility in the end game, and that is not going to be what Liew draws out of the bag. The unseen tiles in the bag, tiles that will be drawn after a bingo, are B, C, D, E, N, and an O. So that will threaten bounced to go out through the U of Umus. So we're seeing antigen, and this actually might end up working in Liu's favor because he's going to draw that hook. And if I run the endgame here, I think Wolfram will have just enough. Says Wolfram wins by 9 with the best sequence, but you have to play and not incur a time penalty. Best play is Kimbo and Hawm, Hawm. Wolfram has 1 minute to make this play and potentially a couple of others that will win by under 10 points. But Wolfram incurs a time penalty of 10 points. The game is lost. So it all comes down to this. Squib is the play. Will this be enough? No, it's not enough because Bounced was blocked, but not Bunkoed. Bunkoed still fits. And that is, I think, the only winning play here for Liew. And he has 3 minutes to spot this. Bunkoed wins by 3. If they have the same scores that we do, it scores 13 points, but gets 14 from the rack. So under time pressure, Wolfram has made a tragic blunder in this endgame, but it's up to Liew. He can punish it and go out with Bunkoed, the anagram of Bounced, the obscure anagram. He will be winning, but if he doesn't, he plays something else. The game is over. Wolfram will be able to go out with KOR in a variety of spots, especially that Hawk spot that doesn't get blocked. Bunkoed is a must find here for Liew. And he sees it. He sees it. And I think he has enough time. He just has to make sure, just think, do I know this word? Is it valid? Am I making this up? Oh my goodness. Are we about to see an incredible endgame swindle? And he's playing it, Bunkoed for 13 and out. And if there's no time penalties, this should end in a score of 434 to 431. But if they have a different score, it's up to them to figure that out. Wow, what a game. What a game. Oh, and with the challenge, that's even better. If his 5-point challenge, that'll make it even more obvious who wins this one. Wow. What a game. Liew takes this one by such a small margin. Wolfram had to spot such a tough play in the end game. What a draw of 6 tiles threatening an outplay. You don't see that every day. 439 to 431 is the final score. 10 U's drawn this game. Crazy stuff. Amazing stuff. Well, and it's me. Hello, everyone. Oh, so much fun. Unfortunately, I didn't have a co-commentator, but it's so great to see these new streams popping up. I know Waben's a streamer. Waben streamed a decent amount during the pandemic, but now taking it to new heights, setting up a stream looks really great. This ninth Zanjero Cup, 3 rounds finished. Things are mixing up. We had Hubert 2-0, a few other players 2-0. Wolfram was 2-0. Now Wolfram's 2-1. He was 2-1. So things are heating up in the standings. Many, many more rounds after lunch, but I think now is a lunch break. Oh no, maybe not. There might be more games before lunch, but this will be the only game I comment. I have to go to bed here in Montreal. It's around midnight, but fantastic game. Awesome stream. This looks fantastic. So everybody watching this, make sure you follow all of the channels that are being suggested to you. Not just this Twitch channel. I think a YouTube stream will pop up later today. And more to come. Singapore Scrabble Association seems to be pro streaming. We love to see it. Yeah, an exciting tournament. So that'll be it for me. I think we'll go to a break. New commentators will be brought in at some point. We'll let you guys know when the lunch break will be over. Maybe something like 40 minutes is what we see here. But I'll be asleep. So good luck to the players. Good luck to the commentators. Thank you for watching, everybody. Later.